Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We, of course, are 1 Million Cups Peoria, and we are a weekly educational event for entrepreneurs to present their ideas to an audience like you. Presenters get 6 minutes to speak, followed by 20 to 30 minutes of Q&A. If you have not been here before or you have not signed in on the clipboard up front, please do so and put who brought you, because that enters them into the mug club. If you bring 3 people, you get a mug, one of those fancy mugs that's sitting over there. And I think that's it on that. And we do have a birthday today. It is Randon's birthday today, so make sure you wish him a happy birthday.
Thank you. Do not sing songs.
Upcoming events, we do have Key Start coming up in September, so if you have a startup that you'd like to enter into that, go ahead and sign up at startuppeoria.com. And this will be the third one. It's $5,000 that's on the line, so make sure you do that if you're interested. And I think that's pretty much it. You can stay up to date with us on Twitter and Facebook. Make sure you use hashtag 1MC, and we are at 1 Million Cups PIA. So our presenter this morning is Austin Locke, who is a co-founder of Share Builders, and he's going to tell us a little bit more about what that is and what they're up to.
Thank you, everyone. I am Austin Locke. I'm CIO at Share Builders, and Share Builders is a 32-person company based here in Washington. What we do is we sell yield management to TV, radio, and cable station affiliates that helps them price commercials. So those are local affiliates in different markets scattered across the country. Our company was founded in 1999. We currently have about 265 television clients, 163 radio clients, and 15 cable systems that we help price. We price over $4 billion worth of advertisements. So we don't make the commercials, but we help and tell the TV stations what to charge for those commercials. And that represents 54% of all the local affiliate dollars in the United States. So if it's a local station doing money for TV and radio, 1 out of every $2 we price for it. So I thought I'd tell you a little bit about a background about me. I'm the CIO for the company. I take care of all the networks and technology and the programming for the company. But I'd like to take you a little bit back farther than that. In 1996, I was a student at the University of Arizona in the freshman dorm. And running Windows 95 on my computer, messing around with it. And, you'd install Real Player or Winamp or Napster, and you'd have 6 different computer programs on your computer that you didn't want. And so you had to wipe it clean every month and then put a new Windows 95 on there. Well, what I ended up having to do was I needed a CD in order to get all my programs reinstalled. So there was a couple guys upstairs in the honors dorm, and they were burning CDs for people. So I went up there and I paid $15 for that guy to burn a CD. And in 1996 money, $15 was a lot of ramen. And I got the idea, hey, I could do this. I could do this, but with music. And so what I did was I went out to Sam's Club and I bought a $400 CD burner back in the day. And that CD burner, because that wasn't a big thing, and back in 1996, nobody had CD burners. And started burning CDs for fraternity and sorority members. And $30,000 later, it paid for my college and paid for my room and board and helped out. So that's a little bit of the entrepreneurial background that I bought into Share Builders. How Share Builders works. Essentially, yield management is like pricing an airline. Airlines were the first to do yield management and tiered pricing, and so that's the analogy we like to use. When an airline has a date, that it has to take off. And once it takes off, that thing is done. They're done selling it. If it's full, then they did a good job of selling it. If it's empty, then that seat has lost money. And they can't get that money back. The flight is already, taken off. So the goal for the airline is to price that seat appropriately. If they charge way too much, then that plane's going to be empty, and they lost revenue. Even if they got 1 or 2 expensive clients, they lost revenue if they don't have every seat filled. If they charged way too little and they filled the plane up, then they charged too little and they didn't make as much revenue as they could have. If the airline company wants to charge $1 for their seats, they're gonna fill that plane up. But the problem with charging $1 is that you have businessmen and women that will come in at the last second and pay top dollar for a flight at the last second. They don't plan ahead. And they'll pay a lot more than you and I going on vacation to San Francisco will. So you want to balance not only charging the right amount for the right customer, but leaving yourself space in order to get at the very end the perfect amount. And you also have other factors like the plane has first class, so they want to charge first class more than regular class. And they've got different kinds of seats. They want to charge more for the fire exits because there's more legroom. The exact same thing, the exact same concepts apply to TV as well. TV has prime, TV has late fringe, TV has early news, and they all have different tiers of prices that they want to charge. And we take that all into consideration when we're trying to price a station. Just like with the airplane, you don't want to fill up all the way. You want to fill up each week a certain amount until at the very last second before that plane takes off, that plane's completely full and you're selling the last ticket at the very last second to the person that will pay the most for it. And that's what we do. We help TV stations do that. So when you're looking at a TV station and you're pricing media, you take a combination of factors. You've got the Nielsen ratings. Take a show like CSI. They have a rating on CSI. They know how many people watched it. They know how many television sets were on. So you take the ratings of that show, that's a factor. You take its historical data. If last year CSI sold for $500, you know that it's a pretty good guess that CSI is going to sell for $500 on average this year. You take its sellout levels, and that's how much you've sold. That's how many seats that you have and how many of them you have sold. And the last factor is you take your forecast of future business. This is the station-wide picture. And this is the macroeconomic picture of the station. The station has certain macroeconomic, the corporation knows that the economy is doing better, and so the station did $5 million last year. They want them to do $6 million this year. So you need to know that when pricing, because each of those programs will fill up that $6 million and needs to expand or contract based upon how you think the economy is doing. And the result that you get from that is a recommended rate. Our final product is just an Excel spreadsheet. That's it. It's an Excel spreadsheet with columns, with shows on different lines, and a dollar figure on different cells. That's it. We tier the rates for certain weeks. You don't want to charge the same thing for every week. A week before Christmas is a lot more expensive than a week after Christmas. Before Christmas, everybody's got money and presents that they want to buy. But after Christmas, everybody's spent their money and inventory is wide open. So you have to lower your rates and then raise your rates in certain weeks. That's the concept of tiering. So this is 1 Million Cups, and you guys are a startup foundation organization. So I thought I'd talk about our startup story. Like I said, we were founded in 1999. We started in my parents' basement. We chose the basement because the garage didn't have carpet, and the basement had some air conditioning. It was me, my dad, my mom, and my brother Justin, some of you know. We decided to start up the company, and my dad was a general sales manager for the local TV station, WMBD. He wanted to basically take his job and automate it. General sales manager has 2 jobs. They manage the salespeople over here, kick them in the butt, get them to go to Menards and sell inventory. And over here, he priced the media. And so he wanted to take the pricing of the media, take that away from his job responsibilities, and just focus on salespeople. So he took the pricing, and he had me come in and do the code for automating that. So as a company, one of the things that we did right was slow growth. Lots of people think that you just have to explode, and that was the opposite for us. We actually didn't want to explode. We actually turned away business at first. And some of the reasons for that slow growth was customer focus. We knew that we couldn't service all of the accounts that we were getting at the time without diluting the quality of the product. So we would space business out or, turn business away, well, not turn them away, but tell them later, we'll get to you, in order so that we could appropriately grow the size of the company and fully service our clients. The mistakes that we made is that at first we let the users run our software. That was a huge, huge mistake. I know that sounds weird for a software company, but at first we gave the stations, I said, hey, here's a piece of software, you guys run it, and we walked away. That was a huge mistake. Because if you get one show wrong, or you get the forecast wrong, or if you get this piece of data wrong, then it was just garbage in, garbage out, and our product looked tarnished in the industry because we weren't supplying good rates, and people would say, oh, that's not a good product, I didn't like ShareBuilder. So we stopped letting the user run it and started taking and keeping all of the data for ourselves and hosting it on a Citrix farm so that they would log into our data farm and run our software and not locally on their workstations. And what this did was we basically moved from being a software company to being a software consultancy company, where every week we would have a person meet with the station and talk to them about running the software. They would run the software for them, so they didn't need to worry about knowing how the software worked. It took the burden off the user. And it also provided us the opportunity to be able to talk to the station and talk to the user. They would ask us questions about the industry and what's the rumors and what's the gossip and what station needs a job. And it changed the face of our company into more of a consulting firm as much as software. And that was something that we didn't expect at first. But it made us more valuable because now we don't advertise. We don't have an advertisement department. We don't have a salesperson. We have one person that does sales part-time. What happens in the TV industry is there's so much turnover and there's so many people going from station to station that when some general sales manager goes to a new station, they say, I've got to have ShareBuilder. I want them. They're so good. We've got to have them, and that's how we get new clients. And once that station is owned by a huge company like Gannett, Belo, whatever, Clear Channel, once they hear about us, then they say, oh, this station's doing well, let's put it in all of our stations. So we get 50 or 60 or 70 clients just like that. It's a good model, but it's a model that we have, like I said, we made sure that we focused on quality and return rather than growth. One of the other mistakes that we made at first is that we overpaid for people. We thought that we had to have people that were industry experts. So we hired people and we were paying them more than ourselves. We quickly realized that we could train someone, a low-cost person, we could train them exactly what they needed to know and get more out of them than having to rely on expensive industry people. Okay, so I thought I'd show you some snapshots about our software. One of the first parts, the macro view of it, is forecasting. This is kind of a sales. I'm not going to go through everything, but this is kind of the sales that we give to the station. So spare me if I'm not going to show you the whole program right here. But these lines represent each year how a station finished. You can see like a blue line right here represents a year that maybe the money came in very late. This is where they finished. And the money here waited for a long time and then it peaked at the end. So that meant that year that money was coming in late and the station has to adjust accordingly. Or if it's a top line here, if the line's very high, that meant the money came in really early and not a lot more came at the end. Those are all things you have to adjust for based upon the economy, based upon the station view. Market forecasting, we also have to say how well is the economy doing. We have to look at things like GDP. We have to look at things like national advertising spending. When GDP is down, then GM or Johnson & Johnson doesn't spend much on the first thing that they cut is advertising. So we have to do a macroeconomic view of things like where is the GDP going to finish for the nation, for the region, locally. Pacing. Pacing is how quickly the money is coming in. Once again, it's a different way of viewing it, but we can have them, if they're like a CBS company, they're a CBS affiliate, we can have them compare how they're doing against other CBS affiliates. We can have them compare about how they're doing against other large market radios or mid-market radios. So for all the factors, they can know basically how good is my sales force working, how good are my people doing their job. Charting inventory, this is a good example of programs would be over here, and these are multiple programs. Your blue line here, and I know it's faint, but your blue line is the ideal sellout. That's the perfect where you should be. And the red line is where this red chunk is where people are sold. So you can see like in this week right here, there's a gap. They're undersold. They haven't sold enough inventory, which means they need to lower their price. So the green line would be, you can see the green line and how it fluctuates. In this week, we're telling them, hey, you need to bring your price way down. But in this week right here, they're a little bit above the ideal sellout. They're selling too quickly. So we raise the price way up. We need to slow that down. We need them to charge more, or else they're going to run out of inventory. Okay? We do some inventory trending where over time we can see how they filled up. It'll show how they've changed their rates and whether or not they're listening to us. Price planning is, you could see all of the different cells of all, we use each one of these as a factor in determining an accurate price, so there's a ton of different variables. And last but not least is the market holding capacity. What this is a representation of all your competitors in a market. You know, you're the CBS, you've got NBCs, CWs, independents. Each one of them gets a certain share. Each one of them gets a piece of the overall market pie. And this represents each person's share in the market. And you can see whether or not you're underperforming your share or you're overperforming your share. If you're doing better than what you should be doing, based upon your ratings, based upon all of your shows, have a certain amount that you should be doing, and you can say, hey, I'm doing better than that. So this is actually the nature of the company's namesake, share builders. What we do is we build share. We'll take this person's share and increase it. And for a large market TV station, if we can increase your share by just 0.5%, the whole market's maybe $10 million for a large market. 0.5% is a huge chunk of money, and it pays for our software many, many, many times over. So that's basically the value that we provide, and we think it's a really good exchange for companies. So that's our company, and that's what we do. Any questions? Yeah.
Besides the public knowledge, like market share, how do you know, like, where do you get your data from? Does the customer provide that, or do you take all the different customers' data?
Yeah, the question is, where do we get our data? And the customer has all of the data. The customer has other software that they run that manages how the commercials air, how the commercials are run, where they go. And we take exports from those systems, process them, and pull it into our system. So in a lot of ways, we're a data processing company, first and foremost. Tori.
So I have a question.
Go for it, Kevin.
When you look at the share data, and let's say that I'm advertising on ABC and somebody else is on the CW, we're doing better than we should be. So is that suggestive that you should actually be advertising someplace else based on the pricing model of that? Is that what that suggests?
Well, what advertisers tend to do, there's two types of advertisers for a local TV affiliate, like here at WMBD. They have local advertisers like Menards. Well, actually, Menards isn't a local advertiser. A local advertiser like a barber shop or somebody who is a mom and pop business. And then they have what's called national business. That will be a big, big national company like General Motors that comes in and they want to buy a bunch of inventory for everyone. So General Motors will go to 20 different markets and they say, I want schedules to run on each of your stations in 20 markets. What that means is that General Motors wants to use the shotgun approach. They want to buy everyone. They want to buy the NBC, ABC, CBS. Even if the CBS is doing poorly, even if the ABC is a great station, they want to buy everyone. So everyone usually gets a piece of that GM money. And because of that factor, we know that even if you're the crappy CW here and you've got low share, people still want to buy you. And because of that, we can tell whether or not you're going to overperform or underperform. CW doesn't have a lot of viewers, but like I said, since GM wants to buy everyone, CW actually does better than they should, right? It's actually harder for the guy who has the better ratings to do what he should because, like I said, they want to spread out the money. Okay, Tori?
Does share builders need to be worried about the trend of moving from TV to like Netflix and all that stuff? So you're smiling so I can see that you're prepared for this question. Is that something you guys have to worry about, and are you kind of aligning your company towards that trend?
Yeah, it's called technology disruption, and it's a great question. We have had technology disruption before, and they were DVR sets. When DVR sets came around, everybody in the industry was just losing their minds. And everyone's doing just fine. Yes, streaming is going to disrupt the industry. But in the 1950s, something came along that was a technology disruption called TV. And everybody thought that radio was going to go the way of the dodo. And radio has stuck around. Now, radio may not be doing the numbers that they did in 1950, share-wise, but what we have found is that the pie may shrink, but when new technologies come in, the pie just gets bigger. More money comes in. It goes to different places. Some people's pie share may shrink, but we are worried about streaming. We're trying to position ourselves for streaming, but we think that for the next 20, 30 years that there's going to be a place for local TV affiliates. And part of the reason is that there's just no more compelling advertising option than for local TV to put a commercial on a local affiliate at this moment for a local business. And that's really our bread and butter. The other thing that saves us is rebroadcasting rights. Even when people get streaming, they still want their local TV. They still want their local news. So they'll pay for, say, like a DirecTV or Comcast. And Comcast, in order to broadcast those local stations, gives the local stations money behind the scenes. So when you have a Comcast subscription, you're overpaying for it a little bit, so for the local TV stations. And that's why they didn't have them at first. Sure.
It looks like a fascinating solution for managing your media marketing for the media providers. Do any local advertisers purchase your service, protect themselves against overpaying for certain media buys, or basically correspondingly just managing their media buys to get the bang for their buck if they can, basically looking at it from the other side of the mirror?
It's a great question. Do the buyers pay us to get insider information? It's a conflict of interest. It would be a conflict of interest for us. The TV stations would lose their trust in us, and we would lose basically all of our credibility if we did that. Once a station in a market signs up for us, they have a right to purchase exclusivity so that other stations in that market don't get us. In some cases, that's beneficial for them and they'll overpay for us. In some cases, it's not. Some cases, they actually want their competitors to have us because their competitor is the cheap guy on the airplane flight that charges $1, right? And when an airplane charges $1 for a plane seat, that sucks up a huge amount of business. And the competitor actually doesn't want him to charge $1. He wants him to raise his price, and you know, the tide rises and all the ships come up. So it's sometimes they want our product in competitors, and sometimes they don't. But to answer your question, to give it a product to the buyers as insider information would be a big conflict for us. Yeah, it's a good question. Sure.
Can you talk a little bit about your revenue or fee model from the customer side, and also maybe just a word on competition if you got other competitors?
Yeah. The fee model in our competition in our industry, we have a nice position in our industry of being a monopoly. So we found a niche. We found a niche business, and we fed that niche, and we're the only person that does what we do. We have indirect competitors. We have other vendors that have a version of our product, but nobody that combines software with consultancy together to provide a compelling solution to TV stations. Our fee model, I'm glad you asked because I didn't touch on this. Our fee model is one of the mistakes that we made at the very beginning. We said, when we first came out with this product, what's a good way to make money? And we said, oh, we'll charge a percentage. We'll take a station and we'll say, if you lose money, you don't pay us a thing. But if you make money, we'll take a percentage. And it failed miserably. Because who's to say why a station gained money? Was it the market? Was it the sales force? Was it the ratings? Was it 10 different factors that was completely unrelated to us? So we ended up actually in court because people wouldn't pay. So we ditched that model. It also tarnished our reputation as being hard to work with. And it would make it hard to say yes if people viewed us as a litigious kind of money-grubbing company. So we changed our model to a per month charge. We charge them per month. It works very well, and it fits very well with the consultancy model of that. And we also give them free updates. So we never charge them for updates or upgrades. We're continually developing and pushing new features into the product, which they get. So it's like a subscription advantage software model.
Does it scale based on the size of the media sell?
We will charge different rates for large TV, large market, small market. Radio is much easier, so we'll charge a little bit less to do radio. So TV gets charged more, and different size markets get charged more. But like I said, if you're our goal is to raise share, and if you're talking just a 0.5% of a share increase in a large market, that represents millions of dollars sometimes, and we don't charge near that. So it's a great model for our customers.
Sorry if I missed it, but so are you still a Peoria-based, completely family-owned company, or how big has the company gotten since 1999?
We're based in Washington. We have 32 employees. We're still a family-owned subchapter S. So, yeah.
I have a question here, and please repeat this. You said that Comcast charges a little bit more, and that percentage of that goes to...
The percentage, Comcast, in order to broadcast local TV stations, Comcast has to pay those TV stations behind the scenes, and they pass along that cost to you. You don't see it. Actually, most of your cable subscription goes to ESPN, honestly. And even if you don't watch ESPN.
How do you deliver your product or service now? Talk about the early days. How is it delivered to the customer now?
We used to deliver it as like I said, a local software that they would install, and then we would install a screen sharing product at the time that we would share screens with them. That was a disaster because firewall ports had to be opened up on every single station that was our customer. Now we deliver it as a Citrix application. It's a WinForms product in a Citrix window. So they come to our farm, they get a screen, they get a desktop that they can run our software in. So it's running in one central location, so we can update it in one place, and we don't have to send out new installations. So they do not install it locally. It also helps us protect our data if somebody stops becoming a client. We just disable the logins, and we keep all the data. Okay.
So we ask at the end of every 1 Million Cups presentation, what can the people in this room do to help you?
That's a great question, and what we need are people. The most of the value in our company is people, programmers, analysts, consultants, and so we're always looking for people. We're growing at 15%, both revenue. We've grown 15% every year, both revenue and people for 15 years, except for 2. We had some recession years that we were just flat. But we're always looking for smart, new people.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.